What's going on, guys? So if my setup doesn't look the same, it's because I am finally moved into my new place and I'm still setting up my studio area. So if the audio doesn't sound the same, if the video doesn't look as good, trust me, things are going to change. You know what else is changing on this channel? Our sponsor. Nobody. If you want to get into the part of if this laptop was actually worth it or not, and I start opening it up and testing it, jump to this part of the video. But I think it's important to understand the backstory of how this laptop ended up on this channel because you might be able to relate to this story. So my friend's laptop ended up dying on him, or is in the process of dying, and he's in the market for a new laptop, but his budget doesn't allow for the specs and performance that he wants in a gaming laptop or anything else that he wants. And that's when I offered him to look at the used market of things like eBay and Facebook Marketplace. Now, I understand people don't want to use something that's been previously owned by other people, but if you do enough digging, you'll realize that people barely use their things. They just want to get rid of it and turn their money around. So this is the Zephyrus G14, and it's the model that came out in 2022. And let me actually pull up the listing here so you guys can see exactly what I saw. So the listing right here is the ROG Zephyrus 14-inch WQXGA 120 hertz gaming laptop 2022 edition. And I'm able to go through and swipe through the photos. And then this is the Best Buy, I guess, ad for what it is. So apparently it comes with the AMD Ryzen 9. It has 16 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, and then the GPU is the RX 6700S with a terabyte of storage. And the listing price is 550 bucks. The other thing is, if I go down to the description, you'll see that the person said it was barely used in all caps, only browsed the internet with it, practically brand new, just seen no use of it. Basically goes for 1100 bucks. It's a steal. Local pickup only, no original box, laptop and charger only, and the payment is Zelle or Venmo. So I would say with that description, it really did give me a bit of a better feeling of how this laptop is, since the person said it was barely used and I have the ability to pick it up locally. So let's go ahead and see if this laptop was a good buy or not. So let me take you guys around the laptop real quick. So on one side we have the AC adapter for power, HDMI port, and I believe this is a Thunderbolt port because it does have a lightning bolt next to it, and then a headphone jack. On the other side, we just have two regular USB-A ports, a regular USB-C port, which I believe is USB 4, and a micro SD card slot. We do have like this metal piece on the back, which I think is a pretty nice design, with the ROG badging on the bottom left. We do have Zephyrus written on the back with metal letters, so it does have that reflective coating to it. So I will say, if you are looking with a fine comb, that there are some scratches and dings, but I would say if I didn't point that out, you probably wouldn't be able to notice, and since it is white, it doesn't really show up that much, especially when the light is hitting it. We do have this animatrix side. I don't believe this works because that's only on the higher tier model, but it's nice that we have like this design here on the top. So moving over to the bottom here, let's just go ahead and take this off and see what the inside of this laptop looks like. I never reviewed the 2022 model of the Zephyrus lineup, so this would be a first look for me. And honestly, given this looks pretty much brand new. You can even see that with the warranty sticker that hasn't even been tampered either. But yeah, going over the entire laptop here, there is a bit of dust, so before I give this over to my friend, I'll just make sure to clean all that stuff up. But yeah, inside of the laptop looks great. Since this is an all AMD laptop, I do like the design of having the Radeon GPU being outlined here, and then the Ryzen CPU here. You do have the ability to upgrade the RAM. I believe it comes with 16 gigabytes from what the guy said. So if you want to add in more, you have the ability to do that. It is DDR5. You do have the ability to upgrade the NVMe drive as well. And one thing that you want to note for the Zephyrus lineup is if you take out the SSD, the network card should be right below it. So if you want to upgrade the network card, you can do that as well, along with the Bluetooth adapter. So you can see that is right there. This is a 1 terabyte drive. I don't think it has it written anywhere, but hopefully when we boot up the laptop, it's all there. One thing I should point out as well, this is the vapor chamber. So with this new cooling design, it should be quieter than the previous iterations of the Zephyrus lineup, like this G16 laptop that I have over here. But yeah, the speakers you can see are on both the left and right. They do look like they're in a pretty good position and sizable. And then the wattage hour is about 76. So that is also nice to see. So with all that out the way, let's go ahead and get this turned on. And if you don't know this about the Zephyrus lineup, when you do lift up the laptop, it does bring itself up, helps with the cooling. This does have Windows Hello, so if you were to look at it, it would automatically sign in, as you can see, which is great. All right, so with hardware info open, we have a bit more information on what the actual specs are of the laptop. So yes, this is the Ryzen 9 6900HS, 8-core, 16-thread processor. The GPU is the RX 6700S. We do have a terabyte of storage, which is very nice for a gaming laptop. And then we do have 16 gigabytes of RAM. 8 gigs is soldered on, but if you want to add in more, you can do that. I think 16 is good for most games nowadays. It is pushing the limits, but it's nice that you have the ability to upgrade the RAM if you care to do so. So let's talk about the display now, because the display is something that is very important when it comes to gaming laptops. So going over to display settings, you can see that this is a 2560 by 1600 display, and this is also when the Zephyrus lineup was moving over to that 16 by 10 aspect ratio. So you do have a smaller chin and you get better screen real estate. Does have Windows Hello at the top, which is great. And then the refresh rate is 120 Hertz, so I can definitely see that moving the mouse here and even just dragging the window around, which is great. And the nit count goes up to 500, so it's not super bright. But I would say for a gaming laptop, you're probably going to be indoors anyway, so not that big of a deal. All right, so let's just test out the keyboard. Let's do a quick typing test and, just get a feel for the keyboard overall. All right, so the score that I got, if you guys are curious, I got 103 words per minute with 100% accuracy, which is, I would say, is pretty rare. You usually get like the high 90s. The keyboard, compared to the older Zephyrus models, I would say is much quieter, much more comfortable. Yeah, these are definitely louder. This is softer, which I do like. It does have the ROG. It does have RGB backlighting. I'll probably have a separate clip where you guys can see the backlighting with the white background. I think it does look pretty nice. So it's nice that we have the RGB capabilities on the keyboard. But yeah, let's go ahead, open up a YouTube video and see how the speakers sound. They do market the laptop for being Dolby Atmos, but I think nowadays Dolby Atmos is just a term that's just thrown around at this point. It does have where it sounds like it's coming from the left or right. Whether it's coming above you and things like that, I would say it's really not that convincing. But in terms of if you want to know in your gaming session whether something's coming from your right or left, the laptop can do that with these speakers. And I'd say they're actually pretty clear for gaming speakers. Bass is a little lacking, but in terms of clarity for, I don't know, footsteps and stuff like that, you're going to be good to go. All right, so far so good, right? For 550 bucks for a mobile gaming laptop, this, I would say, is a pretty good deal. So let's talk about gaming. So honestly, I'm not the biggest PC gamer anymore. And when I say anymore, if you look at my Steam library, there's honestly not much. But I think the game that I think a lot of people can relate to, or at least cross-check with other reviewers, is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. All right, so the tests that you're about to see are being ran at 1920 by 1200, so it's not the native resolution. But trust me, when you see the graphics and the settings that I'm able to run, I would argue it looks better than running at the native resolution. Some of the reasons why I'm running it at this setting is because 1200 or 2560 by 1600 at this resolution doesn't really make sense. Yes, it's sharper, but you don't really need that resolution on a 14-inch screen. And Ultra is kind of overrated. I'd say the setting right below that is just as good and gives you much more FPS. As you can see at the end, we almost hit 110. Moving over to the next test, I'm expecting it to be 100 and it might dip down once we, whoa, 160. I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, once we start getting into the village, it should drop down to maybe 90, I would say. But yeah, I would say for a gaming laptop at 550 bucks, almost at 600, 550 bucks, this is a steal. So we're dropping down steadily. I'm hoping it's going to be at the minimum 90, but it looks like it's holding 100 pretty good. Oh, dropping to the high 90s. You can see some popping in of some assets right here of people and the plants, but will we hit 80? 89. Oh, I saw it for a split second. 101. Look at that. So as you can see with these settings, it's at 101. All right, let's go to one of a more demanding title, Cyberpunk 2077. All right, so I have not touched this game in God knows how long. I'm actually going to keep everything on the default settings with ray tracing and whatnot. Now, for a more demanding AAA title like Cyberpunk, this should give you guys a better understanding of how this laptop performs in 2024. So it does have ray tracing turned on low. And let's see the FPS that we're getting. So lower 50s, upper 40s. Does have ray tracing turned on. Oh, we just crossed 60. Okay, outside we are above 60 FPS. Barely. See some of the reflections in the water there of the RTX, the ray tracing. Yeah, honestly, as much as I think ray tracing looks cool, I would probably turn it off and get your FPS back. But for 550 bucks, this is not bad. Gaming on some of the highest settings in terms of the graphics side of things with the ray tracing turned on low, this is actually pretty good for Cyberpunk. So as you can see here, average FPS is 58. Our low was 48, but as you can see here, full screen, 1920 by 1200. Textures is set on high. Ray tracing is set on low. I would say this is actually pretty good. With those two games, I think those are pretty good benchmarks of what you guys can expect. I'm also going to set this down to the silent mode, which is great. You just hear those fans slowly stop whirling. All right, so you guys let me know down in the comments below if I got a pretty good deal on this for $550. Once again, I understand people don't want to buy used because someone else has already used it, but this is good for the environment for one. It also allows you to get stuff that you couldn't afford at a much deeper discount. This on Amazon after tax is going for like $1,300, $1,400. So that's well under half or 50% off, and I'm basically getting it brand new. I don't have warranty, but nowadays, let's be honest, companies aren't going to be honoring your warranty, especially when it's out of warranty after the first couple of years, which is when things typically go bad. The other thing I forgot to talk about was the trackpad. It's a glass trackpad. It's very soft. You can't click anywhere, so more of the bottom part, but it does feel very accurate and snappy. And then with the 120 hertz, it just makes the experience of swiping that much better. So last, I just want to give you guys some tips on things to look out for when shopping on Facebook Marketplace. The area of your local pickup, make sure it's an area that you know, and it's also an area that is safe. Don't go to places that you know that part of town isn't great, or it's an area that you're not too familiar with. If you are going somewhere, if the person is adamant on meeting up there, take someone with you. Don't go by yourself. The other thing is, if it comes to laptops or electronics, make sure you have a place to plug in wherever you're meeting up. And also be mindful about the seller as well. If they're apprehensive on questions that you're asking them, maybe I would say just let it go. There are plenty of deals out there. Some might be too good to be true. If you get that feeling in your gut, it's probably too good to be true. But ask away, but don't be that annoying person asking like 500 bajillion questions. But you know, this is a product that you are intending to buy, so get your most important questions out the way. The seller should let you know if they're being open and honest. I would say that's a pretty good sign. But they're being apprehensive, if they're kind of getting annoyed, I'd say just walk away. I did not haggle. I probably could have got this down to 500, but I would say for 550, this is already a pretty good deal. Doesn't mind to hurt. The worst they can say is no. Some people might end up blocking you. If they do, you know, it is what it is. But when it comes to the payment, this is also the other important thing. If it's over 500 bucks, don't do cash. Just offer to do PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, Apple Pay, Cash App, whatever the online payments are. Just because walking around with that much cash is just not great, especially once again in an area that is not the good part of town or you don't feel comfortable being in. But the other thing I kind of want to leave off on is if you don't have good deals in your area on Facebook Marketplace, just look at the rich area that's closest to you. Even if you have to drive an hour out, I would say that's well worth it if you're getting something at like 60, 70% off brand new. But yeah, like I said, those are the things that I would look out for. So for my friend, I will probably give you more RAM and screw this stuff back up and ship this out. And hopefully you guys can shop on Facebook Marketplace. Once again, it is better for the environment. This thing probably could have went up in the landfill, but it's going into someone else's hand that has proper use. So with all that being said, guys, my studio will be coming, trust me, but appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. And as always, guys, much love. Currently at Micro Center, and the RAM that I'm looking for would be this guy here. 16 gigs, DDR5, 48 mega transfers, whatever you call it. That's the one, buddy. And just like that, added in a total of 24 gigabytes of RAM. So enjoy the gaming session, buddy. Is a situation with this Zephyrus G15. It's a G14.